a child. And to the extent that I can send my mind to a place, hard. It's thinking about being at a funeral.
It's January 3rd.
I also hold with that heartbreak an enormous amount of inspiration about who we are. Inspiration about who those firefighters are, who charge into a burning building that all the rest of us would have run away from. To just say, how do we save the lives of our family members inside? Inspiration from the community members, whether it was in the hospital, at one of the press conferences, in community. The community members who you've seen have changed, family, and also the community members you haven't seen. Because I don't know that it would be possible as you navigate the acute crisis of laying to rest our young children. I don't know that it would be possible for you to see all of the ways in which your loss is our loss, in which our losses have a ripple effect on our community, in which our loss reverberates, not just through this place, not just through our Hmong community, but through our entire city. Inspiration from Kirk, who was an intern in my office a couple of years ago. Her strength to fight, Jacob's strength to fight. An inspiration from you, Patrick. When we second met, we first met a couple of years ago when Kurt was intern in my office, but when we second met a couple of months ago. My first sight of you was with all of those lanyards around your neck. And of all the things that we were thinking through and going through and experiencing in that moment, it just occurred to me that you had a lanyard for every single one of your family members who was in the ICU that night. You walked me through and introduced me to your children who were struggling. We were walking through and there was a moment that I just needed a moment. There was a moment that it went beyond sad. We had a press conference the next week, a couple of days later. And Christine looked into the camera and said, hey, I never want to see your family where my family is. Make sure you have your fire extinguisher. Make sure you have your fire escape route. Make sure your children know what to do in case of a fire. I say all that just to say, like I said, there's moments too that demand us to decide what to do. And there's moments that illustrate for the whole world who we are. And as horrific as what you've been through, as horrific as what we've been through, is these children in an age where every time we turn on the TV or our computers or our smartphones, we see adults acting ugly. These children have demanded better of us. These children have pushed us together. These children have required us to be one community, have required us to be one family, have required us to be one religion, and that's a religion of humanity, of care, of empathy, of love for each other. We walked into the hotel, in the hospital room, there was a group of family members all around, and some somebody looked at me and said, could you say something encouraging to the family members right now? And by saying, my first thought was no. I don't feel anything encouraging. I don't, there's nothing I can say that will help anything. But as we continue to digest all of this, I do have to say that I hold in this moment both the great, enormous, unthinkable grief, the loss that we've endured together, and the great, enormous hope that I take from your spirit, that I take from your faith, that I take from your community, that I take from your city, and that I take from the fact that I get to share that family, that city, that community with you. If I could read all of our minds and all of our hearts, I'm sure we are all screaming the question, us caring for one another before a tragedy happens, of us wrapping our arms and our hearts around one another to ensure that we all get a chance to share in the prosperity, in the joy, in the fulfillment that our community, our culture, our religions, our neighborhoods, our great city has to offer. And so I leave here recommitted to those things. I feel recommitted to you, State. And I thank all of you for being the concentric circles that ensure that Hussein knows not just in Kerwin, knows, not just today, not just during an event, but after this event is over, and on Monday morning, and on Thursday evening, and for the rest of his life, that while some of those closest to you must now be experienced in the spirit, that in the body, and in the flesh, and in the family that we call St. Paul, Minnesota, you are surrounded by love, you're surrounded by family, you're surrounded by relatives, you're surrounded by support.